Summer, 1944. Anti-aircraft guns over London. Fire at V1 buzz bombs and miss. It takes 2,500 shells to bring down one. The kill rate was 17%. A secret weapon already exists, small enough to fit inside a shell, classified alongside the atom bomb, and locked in a warehouse while London burns. Its blueprints crossed the Atlantic years earlier, in a battered suitcase, handed over by men the establishment called insane. Shells burst in the sky over London, tracing hopeful arcs against the incoming V1 flying bombs. Gunners stand at their posts, hands numb, eyes locked on the horizon. The numbers are relentless. For every flying bomb that falls, anti-aircraft crews fire off 2,500 shells. 17% of those shots find their target. The rest, smoke and noise. Each day, the city's defenders reload, recalibrate, and brace for more. Reports stack up in AA command. Ammunition stocks are running low, casualty lists are running high. The V1 bombs keep coming, their engines droning a mechanical promise of destruction. Gun crews work in shifts, sleep in short bursts, and learn to read the sky for patterns that never quite repeat. They know the odds. A direct hit is rare. Most shells detonate harmlessly, a few meters too soon or too late. The official after-action reports are blunt, ineffective at present range. Commanders request new fuses, better predictors, anything to tip the balance. Those requests are not lost on the men loading shells at Woolwich or the officers tallying losses at Horse Guards. Each failed interception means another explosion in a crowded street, another fire to fight. The gap between need and ability widens with every raid. Somewhere, a solution waits, locked away, untested, and unreachable while the city burns. In a Johns Hopkins basement, far from the front lines, a group of civilian physicists face a challenge that most military engineers will not even attempt. They must create a radio-triggered fuse small enough to fit inside an artillery shell, yet tough enough to survive a launch force of 20,000 times the force of gravity. The numbers are not theoretical. That is the acceleration as the shell leaves the barrel, enough to shatter glass, warp metal, and fry any ordinary circuit. The design brief reads like a dare. The device must be no larger than a thermos, must work every time, and must detonate within meters of a moving target. William McLean, Merle Tuve, and their team at the Applied Physics Laboratory and the Naval Research Laboratory begin with a standard radio receiver. It lasts only milliseconds in the test rig. They switch to sub-miniature vacuum tubes borrowed from hearing aids, then mount them in a shock-absorbing cradle of rubber and ceramic. Each prototype is fired down a test range, then examined with X-rays for cracks and filament breaks. Most fail. Some survive. The breakthrough comes with a spring-loaded chassis that cushions the delicate electronics from the worst of the blast. By 1942, the team produces a working fuse that fits inside a 3-inch shell. It can detect its own radio echo from an airplane wing and trigger a detonation at just the right instant. The impossible specification has been met, not by the armaments industry, but by civilian outsiders armed with lab notebooks and a stubborn disregard for what is supposed to be feasible. The weapon exists. The question now is whether anyone will risk using it. The proximity fuse, now a working miracle of physics, lands in the hands of the British War Office. The reaction is not celebration, but caution. Memos circulate under the heading Top Secret, Manhattan Level, grouping the fuse with the atom bomb and the magnetron. The device is locked away in government depots, its crates stamped, inventoried, and stacked alongside Britain's most dangerous secrets. Warehouse clerks sign for shipments they are forbidden to open. Field commanders requesting new anti-aircraft technology receive only silence or red tape. The fuse is so secret that even mentioning its name outside a handful of offices risks prosecution. The logic is simple, if chilling. Should a single unexploded shell fall into enemy hands, the entire advantage could be lost, copied, countered, or turned back against Allied cities. The official line is, "Better to lose men than to lose the secret." Files from the Ministry of Supply show months of debate, each page more hesitant than the last. The device's creators, mostly civilians, watch as their invention disappears behind layers of security. At one point, over 9 million fuses sit idle in warehouses, classified at the highest level, waiting for a release order that never seems to come. The war outside grinds on, but inside the system, the fuse is just another line item, valuable, dangerous, and above all, untouchable. September 1940. Henry Tizard boards the RMS Corinthia with a battered steel box weighing 250 pounds, deliberately built to sink if the ship goes down. Inside, 2 prototype cavity magnetrons, blueprints for radar and jet engines, a sealed envelope of uranium calculations, and the proximity fuse's technical dossier. The manifest lists the cargo as scientific instruments, but every page of the inventory is stamped "Top Secret." Tizard's orders, signed by Churchill himself, authorize him to hand over Britain's most guarded research to the Americans, with no conditions and no guarantees. The mission's destination is Washington, D.C., where the Wardman Park Hotel becomes a makeshift war room. For 2 weeks, Tizard and his team shuttle between meetings, unlocking the box for Vannevar Bush, Alfred Loomis, and the National Defense Research Committee. Each item is logged, photographed, and debated. The Americans call it the most valuable cargo ever brought to our shores. Not everyone agrees with the giveaway. Lord Lindemann, Churchill's scientific advisor, cables a warning that surrendering the magnetron and the fuse could cripple Britain's post-war future. Tizard ignores the memo. He believes survival comes first. The contents of the box, 23 classified inventions, will soon change the balance of power if they survive the bureaucracy and the Atlantic. The gamble is personal. If the box is lost or the Americans refuse, Tizard's career, and perhaps Britain's last technological edge, goes down with it. The US Navy receives the proximity fuse with skepticism and a stack of technical manuals. On a cold morning in the Pacific, destroyers load their 5-inch guns with the new shells. Japanese dive bombers approach in formation, confident in the old odds. Gunners fire. The first shells explode not on contact, but mid-air, close enough to shred wings and send aircraft spinning down. The kill rate jumps overnight. Reports from the Bureau of Ordnance record an increase from 17% to nearly 74%. Where it once took 6 shells to bring down a single plane, now 3 out of 4 find their mark. Commanders relay the numbers up the chain. Procurement officers who had doubted the civilian invention scramble to place orders. Assembly lines in Kansas City and Schenectady are told to retool for mass production. The fuse's performance in the Pacific leaves no room for debate. It is not theory. It is not a laboratory trick. It is a weapon that works. And every intercepted bomber is a line in the after-action report, a statistic that means a ship survives another day. The question shifts from, does it work, to how fast can we make more? On July 24, 1944, a single anti-aircraft battery logs 97 V1s engaged and 82 brought down. The numbers finally run in London's favour. Gunners, once resigned to emptying thousands of shells for each kill, now watch the sky clear with every passing hour. The proximity fuse, kept under lock and key for years, delivers what the official reports call decisive improvement. Across the campaign, 2,419 V1s are intercepted before reaching the city, each one a line in the battery log, each one a near miss that never lands. Crew diaries record the shift in tone. Less fatalism, more calculation. The fuse works. It works so well that for the first time, command posts debate ammunition supply, not because of futility, but because the pace of success strains logistics. The men behind the guns, once anonymous in their losses, now become the quiet vindication of a gamble nearly buried by bureaucracy. Julius Rosenberg walks the line between loyalty and betrayal with a file folder, not a pistol. In 1945, American counterintelligence intercepted coded Soviet cables known as Venona decrypts, naming Rosenberg as the conduit for top-secret weapons data. Among the blueprints and technical reports he passed along was the design for the proximity fuse. The very device that British and American officials had locked away, rationed, and withheld from battlefields for fear it might fall into enemy hands, now traveled east by way of a spy ring. Soviet engineers, working from Rosenberg's stolen files, produced a working copy of the fuse by late 1946. Their version matched the original's performance within a margin of 5%. Official records confirmed what the war rooms had feared. The secret was lost, not through a dud shell recovered in the mud of Normandy, but through a bureaucrat's briefcase in New York. The logic of secrecy collapses in the shadow of espionage. What was once too precious to risk is now just another line in a decrypted cable. Power shifts when invention meets hesitation. The proximity fuse multiplied kill rates from 17% to 74%, yet bureaucracy kept it boxed while thousands died. Today, technology still waits on courage to unlock its potential. The real gamble isn't invention, it's how long we hesitate to act.